This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit temptationstreats.com to learn more.
It's not about being good. It's not about that. It's not necessarily even about the ego. Yeah, sure, that plays a part for some people and to a degree for me. It's how you want to experience something.
Right.
And how you experience something sometimes is based on how you've experienced it in the past. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Afternoon Snack Podcast. I'm your favorite host, Alex, with your second favorite host, Meredith. You know how sometimes we talk about expectations versus reality, and when they don't match up, there's a lot of feelings, like when you expect to sleep well in a truck tent and you don't, or when you expect to run a fast marathon on half marathon training and then you shit the bed, or when you expect to have a really rough 80-mile gravel race, but then you crush it. We're basically talking about that today. So enjoy.
Hey, yep.
I
learned that when we were at Girls Just Want a Weekend in January, and like you're at the pool. And what I appreciate is that I get the impression that Brandi Carlile is such a nut job with like sound quality, which like you kind of have to be because it's your brand. That the guy, they would do sound check for like longer than the set for those pool sets. But they're, one of the audio engineers doing the sound check, he would be like, hey, yep. Like that was how he would check mics. And so now every time I check mics, I do that. Hey, yep. Which makes sense because I think you get like a broad range of vocal and you get the pop for when you're like, trying to DS and pop filter. Anyways. Hey, yep. Welcome. How are you?
I'm sore.
You want to talk about it?
I mean, if you're thinking about going for a bike ride, I wouldn't recommend 80 miles. Except maybe I would.
But yesterday you said 80 is such a nice distance.
I know, and it is. Mm-hmm. While you're on the bike. It's nice when you're done. When you're on it, you want it to be less than 80 miles.
But I think that's just gravel.
I know.
You go through like
it doesn't matter what distance it is. Like you get close and you just are like, it'd be nice if it was done now.
But I feel that way about like 35-kilometer training rides.
I know. It's our brain.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just got back from the Dusty Bandita, which is a women's only race in Ovando, Montana.
It's women's queer.
It's like women plus.
Yeah.
It's basically like it's anybody but men.
But honestly, I was thinking about it when they were talking about it at the start line. I don't particularly like the idea of exclusion, but I think sometimes there needs to be exclusion for there to be inclusion to a degree, especially with sports, because I think it can be a more inviting environment when it is only a subset of the population allowed in. And you had an interesting experience as well with it being, number one, a smaller race, and secondly, only women. So there's like that as well. There's like the people new to gravel, the women who might be a little bit intimidated. Having a women's only race is much more inviting for some people. And then secondly, it allows for a different type of competitive environment for the more elite women.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I mean, the start, all women, and there's some legit riders that show up to this thing. So for the start, I was like, okay, I'm going to the front, obviously.
I know, you kind of wiggled us through and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You just did Unbound. I thought we were going to hang back.
No. Yeah, so I started off the front, and there was a group of very fast women at the front, and I was with them. Like there was one pro in the field, someone who also rode Unbound 200. She ended up winning, and then a lot of like Cat 1, Cat 2 riders, like that type, so really quick. And then I was thinking, like I was in that, and it's really exciting to be in that. Number one, like it's exhilarating. It's for me very validating that I can be in that and in the mix. But then also I was thinking, like while I was riding that, it's so rare to have that experience in a mass start race where usually you have men and women and, all kinds of people riding together. And it's not that that's not, also exhilarating. There's nothing against that experience. This was just different to have it be only women. And so you have, you're racing women only. It was just really cool.
Yeah. See, my experience was different.
Okay.
So you guys went off really fast and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm now alone and the race just began. I was like in between the people behind me and like the group ahead. So I'm thinking like, all right, you know what, Alex, just like speed up and get into the group because once you're in the group, it will be easier.
Yep.
Because you can draft and you can work together. It's better to be in a group when you're riding, especially gravel. So I thought, okay, I'm going to speed up. And I was like burning matches at the very beginning. And then it after about probably like 3 to 5 minutes, I came to the realization after making no advancement towards the group at that effort, that even if I had made it to the group, there's absolutely no way I could hang on to the group. Oh, okay. So I gave up on that. So there was probably like 25 of you out there, 25 to 30 people. And I ended up catching quite a few people by being smart.
Yeah.
And like laying off the gas and basically not doing what I did in the Calgary Marathon.
Yeah.
Which is going out too hot.
Yeah.
But what I like about biking is you can burn a match, but you have a lot more matches with biking than you do with running. At least for me. Like you can kind of not necessarily empty the tank, but do a really hard effort and kind of be able to kind of recover while still working relatively hard and then work really hard again and then recover. Whereas running, I think partially because there's probably shorter distances.
Yeah.
But it's just a different implement. I kind of like that about biking. You can have moments in the race where you think I'm tanking. And then 30 minutes later, you're back in the game.
Yeah. You're like, really all I need is a snack and a little bit of water and I'm good to go.
Yeah. Or just like a different road.
Yeah. And to back off the pace just a little bit. The recoverability is better.
Yeah.
In cycling. Yeah. And I think for you too, like you would not be able to achieve your VO2 max on a bike. Like that's not possible for you.
I don't have the leg power.
Yeah. Like you can achieve it running. And so that's also probably something that aids in your ability to recover on a bike. Where like and people who cycle, like they're going to be able to achieve their VO2 max on the bike. So it's a little bit different. But even for people like that, you have a much wider path for pacing. And like fundamentally, you can continue to move while dropping the effort, which is different than running.
Yes. Yeah. That's true as well.
When you saw me like riding off into the distance, were you like, well, there goes our day together?
Yeah, because I didn't know how the day was going to go. I thought maybe you'd be too tired and we would ride together. And then somebody was like, oh, Alex, you should just race it and like leave Meredith in the dust. But then we went for a ride a few days before the race and you were kind of not hammering, but it wasn't an easy joy ride. And I was thinking, okay, I don't necessarily think she's going to just mail it in for the 80 miler, which you did not.
No.
And then I thought for a minute, maybe I'll catch her. Like maybe she'll burn all of her matches, knowing that she doesn't have that many. Maybe I'll end up catching her. And I didn't.
No.
But I still had a really solid day on the bike.
Yeah, you did great.
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't do as much biking.
I was really proud of my day and my effort. It was 80 miles. It took me 5 hours and 27 minutes and change. And I didn't stop at all. The only time I stopped was at a stop sign where we were forced to.
So that was like a PR longest ride without stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because RPI was longer total distance, but we were doing aid stations.
Yeah. And that was survival.
Yeah.
This race, I was actually able to try hard.
Yeah.
Like I was able to put in effort to go faster than just taking the miles off.
Yeah.
So that was nice. A nice experience. It is hard though. I consider myself a very like fit person, and I'm doing my best and trying my hardest on my bike, and to get left in the dust, literally, it's a reality check.
Yeah.
And I think this, even though I think overall, fitness is such a difficult thing because it's very special. It can be very specialized. Like you can be very generally fit, which I think we both are, if you count everything that we do and can do with lifting and endurance.
Yeah.
But it is hard when you have so many hands in different baskets.
I don't think that
your eggs, not all your eggs in one basket. You have different eggs in different baskets.
Lots of hands on lots of different eggs.
Yeah.
In baskets.
It's tough when you do get into an environment with people who have all their eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
And, you're giving it your best and you're not objectively close.
Yeah.
Even though you're training just as much as them.
Yeah.
I asked this competitive bike rider the other day, like how many hours on the bike she puts in. And her overall training time is more than me, but not by a lot.
But the fact that she's doing only like one kind of training.
Yeah.
And even her accessory training is oriented towards
exactly. That. Nothing is taking away. Everything is adding to that form of fitness.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the crux of this podcast is just the balance that is required. And I do have to remind myself in those moments, whether it's running or biking, or even when I'm lifting or training functional fitness, there are moments where I have to remind myself, you can't do this to that level because you're doing all those other things. It's a little bit of an ego protection, but it's also just recognizing what my goals are right now, which is that I don't really have one.
Yeah. And you have to find a way to be okay with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're kind of good at everything, but not really good at anything.
Yep. Yeah. Well, you did great on the race.
Thanks. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah.
Despite all that, I'm very proud of my effort.
Yeah.
And my improvements on the bike. I worked really hard on the indoor trainer this winter and it's paying off.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really have an option in the wintertime for riding and training on the bike. So is the trainer, and it is nice to feel that pay off like early season. But
I think I'm also just getting more comfortable on the gravel bike.
Yeah.
Just a little bit faster, especially on the descents. Feel less sketchy.
Yeah. It starts to become, there's like a predictability to the way that your bike engages and releases. It's kind of like skiing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think inherently you have a bit less control, but if you know like the different gravel conditions and when you're likely to lose traction, but like, hey, it's okay to lose traction sometimes because you're going to get it right back. Mm-hmm. Just don't do anything weird with your rear brake. You kind of like figure out how to deal with the conditions and the terrain. And then you're just like, I get to just be a noodle up here and like, let the bike do what it's going to do.
The looser you are, the more relaxed you are, especially in the descents, the better. I had to remind myself yesterday because there was some loose gravel on that descent.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of started getting scared, but I'm like, just pretend you're on your mountain bike.
That's it.
Because when I'm on my mountain bike, nothing phases me. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm, riding crazy things, but when you're on a gravel, I'm thinking less about what if I crash right now.
Yeah.
That goes through my head a lot less frequently than last
progress,
summer.
Yeah.
Because last summer, it was anytime I went downhill, if I crash right now, it's going to be a bloodbath.
I could have any skin left on my body.
Yeah. So yeah, I was really proud of it.
And you did all that despite absolutely no sleep at all.
I know.
Is becoming a bit of the theme, but this is really strike two for that truck tent.
So if you aren't familiar with our truck tent, you have to go back. Is it 3 Mays back?
2 Mays ago.
2 Mays ago.
Early June.
We bought a truck tent because we were going out to my aunt and uncle's branding. They have a house, but there wasn't really a bed for us to sleep in. So we decided to purchase a truck bed mattress made specifically for our truck and a truck tent.
And not a truck, not a rooftop tent.
No.
One that turns the bed of your truck into a covered wagon.
Yeah. So long story short, still go back and listen to the podcast because it's funny. Long story short, there ended up being a windstorm and we turned into human piñatas.
The tent turned into a piñata. We were just in the piñata.
Yeah, we were in the piñata.
We didn't turn into human piñatas. I don't know what it's like to sleep in a piñata, but it had to be like that.
A piñata that's getting attacked. Someone's trying to bust it open and you're inside trying to sleep. One of the things
that made that trip different and why the first 2 nights were okay on the trip to the ranch was because we brought a down blanket, a comforter. We didn't do that this time.
No.
I was like, Alex, have you checked the weather? You're like, yeah, it's all good. It's going to be high 24 degrees, which for Americans is low 80s, I think. That was the high on both of the days that we were there. And we're only there for 1 night. So it's all good. And then you pack the stuff for the tent. I was not paying attention to any of that.
I did ask you.
I know, but I was so
fair
in the weeds with the bikes.
Yeah.
So we get there and it was just you just had our quilt.
I almost didn't bring the other blanket.
Yeah. And then I was like, why don't you bring the puffer blanket? We have this, it's like a puffer jacket, but it's a blanket. Because it's great to have if you're sitting around by a campfire or just outside, but you want a blankie because you're cold. I was like, just bring it. It packs up into a little bag. It's perfect for stuff like this.
We bought it somewhere because I was cold.
We bought it in Idaho.
All of our blankets that we have, and I imagine this is probably most people, are purchased in a moment where you feel cold. Yeah. And you didn't bring a blanket from home.
We have a blanket that we bought in Jasper.
Yeah.
Same reason. We have a blanket. The one that I'm talking about was bought in Sun Valley, Idaho.
Yeah.
Same reason. Great blanket though. So you brought that one.
Yeah.
So we get the truck tent all set up. Air mattress is in. Sheets are on. Quilt is on. I'm like, damn it, that looks really cozy. I can't wait to sleep in it. Because it actually does sleep really well.
It does look really cozy inside.
Yeah. So we get tucked in. And I unzip the little flap. Because I'm like, oh, yeah, it'll be nice to have some airflow in here. Because it's, it's a little hot. And we kind of start to go to sleep. Well, the campsite was lovely. There was a highway that ran kind of near it. And so there was some road noise. And I'd say that kept us up it kept me up for a little bit. And then I kind of dozed off eventually because I was tired from driving. But you were up. You were struggling with that.
Yeah.
The noise.
I think partially because it wasn't a consistent noise.
Yeah.
It would be silent. And then you would hear the car coming and it would get louder and it would apex.
Yeah.
And then it would die off because the car would pass.
Yep.
And it turns out a lot of people drive at night.
Yeah.
Down that road.
It was wild, how long you could hear the car coming too.
Mm-hmm.
That was unexpected. 'Cause I'm like, it's not a major highway. It's a 2-lane road.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Maybe it had to do with the fact that there were mountains or water. The sound was just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that kept me up for a long time. And then it started getting cold. Really cold.
Yeah. I only noticed.
The mattress, I pumped it up too hard.
Yeah, I did notice.
So when you're sleeping on your front, your knees didn't. I realized that with a mattress that's even a firm mattress, it's soft enough so that when you're lying on your back or your front, parts of your body sink in enough so that your knees don't feel like they're getting hyperextended.
Well, it's probably a pillow top.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point.
So this bed, it was basically sleeping on the ground. It was a notch up.
You pumped it up probably an appropriate air pressure for one person, but then you put 2 people on it.
Right.
And it, because you have to take that into account.
Now it's concrete.
Yeah. Physics.
Again, it got me.
Damn physics. Yeah. That. I know I woke up at one point because you were zipping closed my flap that I had opened.
Because it was freezing.
I know.
Here's the thing. I knew it was going to be less than 10 degrees.
What was the temperature? Did you ever look it up?
No, I bet you it's probably, I don't know, around the same. as it was, let's see, Avando. So tonight it's getting down to 12, but it's also way warmer. So I think it was getting down to like 8 or 9 Celsius.
I think it was probably definitely colder than that.
And so I thought 2 people in a tent is going to warm the tent up by respiration.
I don't think it's respiration. It's also not a latex glove.
I know, but I didn't think about that.
Okay, so June 20, what was the date that we were there? Friday night? It was 1 degree.
No way.
It says it right here, Ovanda, Montana. 1 degree. It was the night before, Thursday night, below freezing.
Okay, that explains a lot.
So that's why.
So I thought it was going to be like 10. So I packed the quilt, thinking that it was going to be warm in the tent because they're 2 bodies.
That actually makes me mad. How did you miss this?
I don't know. I don't think my weather app said that. But anyways, we made it. We survived. But it started getting really cold. So as the cars were dying down, because it was getting close to like midnight, 1 a.m., still hadn't fallen asleep, it started getting so cold. And so that was keeping me awake. Because what happens is you go fully under the cover and then you can't breathe because there's not as much oxygen under the covers, or at least that's what it feels like. So you're trying to cover like your head with the blanket, but also leave like a mouth hole. But even the mouth hole, like my nose was cold. Like at one point I had to warm my nose up with my hand. That's how cold it was.
Yeah.
So then I pull out the puffer blanket and I cover myself with it.
But not me.
I don't know what you're doing. And so it was probably about 1:30 when I said to you, I can't sleep.
We said that to me?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
I know. I thought maybe you didn't hear me, or you more likely just ignored me, which in the moment I was like, valid. I'd probably ignore me too.
I would definitely have ignored. Don't say things like that to me. Because you know what happens when you say, I can't sleep? Even if I'm like struggling to sleep, but marginally sleeping, now I have massive anxiety about you not sleeping.
Yeah.
Which I already have.
I know.
Baseline. I could tell you were moving around. You kept like, you got out of the tent a few times to pee. And like, again, the worst part about that is like the only way to get into this tent because our truck is lifted is to like kind of like beached whale yourself into
I know. It's really hard. We should have brought a stool.
Yeah.
Not that we even own one, but
we have a step stool. Should have brought it.
Okay. Yeah. We have that one. So basically we both survived the night somehow.
Barely. I woke up at one point.
At one point we don't touch when we're sleeping.
No.
Like we're in a king bed typically, opposite ends. Like if I'm not touching the edge of the bed, then like if we're both not touching the bed, then we get blamed for being too close to the other person. So we're on like opposite ends, like no touching at night. And we were huddling for warmth.
At some point I was like, I have to get in there.
We were spooning in the middle of the night. That's how cold. I felt like I was on Naked Afraid.
I was like, I have to put my socks on, but then I was worried that I was going to move too much if I put socks on and wake you up. Not that you weren't already awake. And so then I just held my socks. So I was like, this just emotional support socks. But then also I like woke up at one point because I was like, wow, it is getting really cold because this puffer blanket isn't even doing anything. And then you had like stolen it, all of it.
I didn't intentionally do that. But at one point we did get up to go pee. And again, because the truck is lifted, you have to like slide out. You can't have your butt on the bed and your feet touching the ground at the same time.
No.
So you kind of get like, you kind of slide down and you have forward momentum. So you kind of get like ejected. So like you're getting ejected out at like 2 a.m.
Bare feet
on rocks.
But I'm like, why did we put the shoes in the tent? I don't know. Because then I'm like trying to feel around and figure out where my clogs are. And I can't figure that out because my feet are numb because they're so cold. It's not good.
I think I probably fell asleep around after that, like probably 2:30 when the cars really started dying down. Mm-hmm. But it was a lot of waking up because of discomfort because I was sleeping on concrete and then freezing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So sleeping bags are making a lot more sense now. Why people use those.
I haven't been in a sleeping bag in ages.
Yeah.
Decades. And I was thinking, now I remember how comfortable a sleeping bag was, because I used to have the type that was like a cocoon and it would go all the way around your head.
Yeah.
And so the opening was like a hole in the front.
Yeah.
And that would have been nice to have for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a fire or something.
It's just anything.
Yeah.
That was rough.
It felt like we were in the show 1923 when they had to like turn the wagon upside down and hide in it because it was a snowstorm.
Yep.
That's what it felt like.
That was us.
So we wake up at 6:30 to be able to have time to like get the tent down and all that. And thankfully we've been in good moods lately, which is nice, despite all of our travel. And I just turn to you and I just say, well, that was rough.
Yeah.
Both just laugh it off. And then I was like, all right, let's just get to the day. We only have to ride for, 5 hours.
I have such a it's so rare for me to sleep before bike events anyways. And I'm like, well, this is just how it goes. I haven't slept. By haven't slept, it's like 0 hours. Like I might sleep for 10 or 15 minutes here and there, but like before the 100 mile, because we were in the van, 0 hours. 200
Those nights
mile.
feel long too.
Yeah, the 200 mile this year, it was probably a combination of nerves, but then also for some reason there was like a need for speed thing going on in our neighborhood where we were staying, so didn't sleep really. Bootlegger in North Carolina didn't sleep. This one didn't sleep. So I don't know, just part of the whole experience at this point.
Yeah, I do just try to remember that one night of bad sleep doesn't actually impact performance that much.
Yeah.
I think thinking that poor sleep one night, and that's different than chronic poor sleep.
Yeah.
One night of bad sleep before an event won't actually impact performance that much.
No.
Which is good to know.
I like to think every world record that exists was probably set after a night of really bad sleep.
Yeah, because of nerves and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, if we use the truck tent again, we learned some things.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, but overall, I thought we handled that really well. That was even despite some navigational challenges on your end. Like the way that you non-verbally navigate sometimes.
I don't want to tell you what to do, but I do want to put it on your radar.
Oh.
So if you're driving and I know the turn is coming, I don't want to be like, turn here. So I'll usually just either put a finger up.
Captain Hook in the periph. Or it's more like E.T. I just see the E.T. finger in my peripheral. But often it does come with a little a sound that's really meant to be a sentence.
First of all, the finger is never pointed. It's never
it's always kind of bent.
It always is bent because it's a little bit
less
aggressive when it's kind of bent.
Yeah. And so I see
I want just the tip to be pointing to where you want to go.
So
the rest of it's just so that if I'm wrong, I can be oh, I was just
stretching, doing my finger stretches. No, we were trying to find the campground and I turned on the road.
As you know, right off the highway. So you're going from 70 miles an hour to now you have to do a very aggressive turn left.
Yeah.
And it was kind of hidden.
Yeah, and I don't have navigation sounds on my GPS.
Yeah.
And I think I was changing the music or something, and I just hear is it? And then the finger. That was it. Literally, I'm going to do it again. Be quiet. Is it? And you can't see me, but I have a little Captain Hook finger. That was it. That's the whole thing.
I know. It worked though. It worked. But the best thing is you never let me off the hook.
No.
You turned and you were sorry, what was that?
Bless you. What? Did you sneeze?
That was my way of...
Is it? Is it right there?
I wanted to say it's here with the pointer, but I wanted to do it in a very, very unassuming way. As the most gentle of reminders to turn immediately. It's here, but at like a 1 out of 10 volume, and the words just like shortened together to make one small noise.
You actually made up a new word. Sear. Right there. That's it.
It worked.
That's it.
We didn't fight. It was a laughing moment.
Look, you have, here's how you go one of two ways with navigation. You either do, or you go, is there a reason why you're going straight? It's one of those two.
I know, I'm trying to get away from that.
It's one of those two things. It's either like, bless you? What did you say?
Or it turns into a full-blown argument because I'm rude.
Yeah, or it becomes like a character attack.
Yeah, I know. But I haven't done that in a while. I usually go with the first, which is better, even though not very helpful. Then there was the reaction.
More helpful than like, oh, so you're going right. Interesting choice. Because 200 meters ago, you should have gone left. And now we have to detour by 10 minutes because there's no place to U-turn. You're a type of person that doesn't pay attention to navigation. I'm not sure that I can be with you.
Yeah, I used to do that. But let's not get into that. There's also the reaction. I made up for that tiny reaction with a much bigger reaction. You close the door in the truck. I was on the other side of the truck. You're in the passenger side of the truck. I was on the driver's side or in the back, like probably getting the bed ready.
You were behind the covered wagon.
I was behind the covered wagon. You were on the passenger side of the truck. You close the door. Of course, I hear this.
Yeah.
And then you say, Alex.
Okay.
Immediately my brain
goes, come around the side of the truck like something's chasing you.
I do.
You come around, you're like, oh, and with this look on your face, like I was like, there's an animal after her. I don't have the bear spray.
Given the timing in between the door closing and Alex, that you locked the keys in the car.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We're not somewhere where it would be easy to get our car unlocked.
No.
So I'm thinking like we're screwed.
Yeah. That would have been bad.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out why, like,
you looked so confused.
Yeah.
So then I was like, wait, she didn't lock the keys in the car. Wait, she just told me she put the keys in the tent. So then what I do is I pretend I didn't just have that reaction.
Yeah, no, they're not getting away with that.
You were like, what's wrong? I was like, nothing.
I was like, well, something's wrong because you don't just come around the back of a truck like that.
And I was like, oh, I just for a moment thought you locked the keys in the truck.
But also, like, what does that if that had happened, what does that response do?
It was a reaction. It was not a response. It was just like, oh, shit.
I think you know me well enough that if I had actually locked the keys in the car, I would have silently tried to solve that problem before ever telling you that it was a problem.
Probably.
Yeah.
And then if you did tell me, you'd be like, hey, Alex, I'm going to need you to remain calm when I tell you this. Is there somewhere you can sit down?
Let's sit down first. Let's sit down. Let's make sure that there's nothing that you can throw. Here's a glass of water. I like the keys in the car.
I just want to remind you I love you.
I just ruined our night. But
before I start, you look really pretty today.
Spoiler alert, we aren't going to be sleeping anyways, so this is really not a big deal. Let's just stay up all night outside of the truck. So yeah.
At least we didn't need the keys to be in the covered part of the wagon.
That's good. Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah, I think at that point though, the puffer blanket was still in the truck.
Yeah.
So that would have been a problem. Yeah.
Oh, that was a rough night.
Well, the temperature explains it. And we had not looked that up until
that was cold.
It felt exactly as cold as it was.
Yeah.
Actually. And air mattresses, they don't insulate.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It turns out they're full of air.
And I slept on an air mattress at Unbound. And I remember saying I was freezing.
Yeah. And I was like, because it's an air mattress.
Yeah. But I didn't think.
Well.
As we say, you don't live and learn, you live and be reminded.
Even if you're reminded less than a week later.
Yeah. It's been chaotic.
It has.
It's been really chaotic, but we're getting by.
I won a prize. You didn't win a prize at Dirty Bandita.
Apparently you got a special prize for getting under 5 hours and 15 minutes.
You were 12 minutes off of that.
And I was 5 hours and 27 minutes.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, had I known, could I have done it? And the answer is no. I gave it my best.
Yeah.
But you got a prize, and that made me feel bad. Because, you know, like, I identify as the type of person who usually gets the special prize for, like, going fast.
Yeah. You're a winner of performance-based prizes.
Yes.
And that's coming off of, like, you didn't defend your podium at the Calgary Marathon. It's been, like, a rough couple of weeks for you from, like, a performance and identity
growing
standpoint.
Opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Calgary Marathon, you touched on it maybe on like a post. I can't remember, but yeah, kind of shit the bed on that one.
I did. Honestly, okay, of course I like achieving good times in races because especially with marathons, they're very time-based. It's not like you're running a trail race and the conditions can be different. You're not really racing for a specific time because there's elevation and stuff. Maybe if you've done the course before, you have an idea. But with marathons, like it's very time-based. Training is very time-based. And I've done, I don't know, like 8 other marathons before. So I have a really good idea of what my capabilities are. The last marathon I did was Calgary last year. So it had been a year. In between then and now, I had done the half marathon in Raleigh.
Crushed it.
And I felt so good. For a fairly undulating course, I was 125 and change, which is amazing for me.
Yeah,
it's a very
not,
fast half for me.
And Raleigh is like notoriously not a fast course.
Yeah. And I didn't go into it tapered. It was basically just a training run for the 70.3 that I was doing about a month later. So overall, I had a lot of confidence based on my last running race. Then through the winter, I had to train more on the treadmill, but it's fine. And my training leading into the marathon, my goal was to run sub 3 hours in Calgary again. But my running volume has been lower on account of me training for the half and then the half Ironman. Because you're not running the marathon distance, you don't need to keep mileage up that high. And I'm somebody who has achieved a sub 3 marathon a couple of times while running a relatively low mileage compared to other runners. Partially because I think I put so much emphasis on like strength and functional training. So I thought, and so did my coach, I could run a sub 3 again with even lower volume, knowing that my biking volume was up, my swimming volume was up, and my strength training was about the same. I thought more of my biking specifically would translate to running fitness. So I went out to and I didn't feel amazing in my build or my taper. But there are definitely runs, like anytime you're running a marathon pace in training, it feels harder than it does in the race. Almost always. You do a training run at 10 or 15K at marathon pace, and then you're thinking to yourself, how on earth am I going to run this pace for 42K? But you do, as long as you have the base and that strong build and the right taper. Then I went into the taper and I was kind of having like twingy hamstrings. Like I just didn't feel like recovered that week. But again, I just tried to push it out of my mind because you can never really tell. Sometimes it's just your brain doing taper things.
Yeah.
Oh, my hip kind of hurts. Like that's normal for a taper. You just get hyper aware of your body and you worry, or at least I do. And I think people, especially new to running, it can happen more often.
Yeah.
So I started the marathon. I went in thinking I'm definitely going to go for sub 3, but based on Raleigh, like I might be able to PR. And maybe the lower volume will be great. I won't feel as like fatigued from running. I don't know. I had theories in my head. So I went out hot.
Yeah.
Which I almost always do run, I guess, like positive splits for a marathon. It's just what I do.
Yeah.
I like to bank a bit of time. But the problem with running is, unlike biking, you only have like one match. At least that's how I feel. If you burn the match early, it's really, really hard to recover from that.
Yeah.
And with me for running, this happened at the 10K race that I did. It can be a matter of 10 seconds per kilometer faster, where you're entering into that heart rate zone where your body can't really recover while maintaining a decent speed.
I would say it could be like as small as 5 seconds per kilometer.
Yeah. So if you're running like, instead of a 4:05 per kilometer, you're running a 3:59. That makes a difference over the course of 3 to 5 kilometers. So I hit 10K around where I did last year in the Calgary marathon when I ran a 2:56. And I thought, something's not feeling right. Like I need to pull back. And I did, but then it just never I never settled in. So at 20K, I saw my dad and I was like, I'm not feeling good, but I was still on pace. And then at 26 to 28K, I just knew things were going downhill fast. And that moment, at that duration of the event, I knew it was because I wasn't physically prepared to run this distance at this pace. I probably could have PR'd my half marathon that day, but I was not prepared for that speed for that duration. And the problem with that is it's not even like a disappointment of like, oh, you're not going to PR or oh, you're not going to get sub 3. It's knowing that you still have 14K to go.
Yeah.
And you feel bad. And you've basically, you're toasted.
Yeah.
And then I think for me, because I ran the LA marathon, having done that, but it was still so early in my marathoning career, if you want to call it that I had the motivation to still like continue to run the race and finish as strong as I could, knowing I could still PR at that point. This race was different. It was like, well, if I'm not going to get close to 3 hours, like why absolutely destroy myself and empty every bit of mental energy I have to not take breaks. So I ended up walking a fair amount. I still finished in a 3:07, which was a respectable time, but it's 10 minutes off my best.
Yeah. And even more than 10 minutes off of like where you would be aiming at if you were looking to improve your marathon.
Yeah. So I was pretty upset. Like I was almost like angry in the race, just angry that I had, and with my coach, like in an attempt to see what I could do with my training balance, I had put myself in this position. Like I was pretty mad.
Yeah.
Cause I don't like the feeling of that, of just basically shitting the bed. There's like a level of embarrassment. Like no one cares.
Yeah.
But there's still that bit of embarrassment. Like I'm better than this.
Yeah. And there's like a frustration of almost like a wasted time. Like, and it's not necessarily wasted if you learned, what type of training is going to work for you and what isn't. Like learning is always valuable. But it's, where we live, you have to sort of consolidate your racing to the warm months. And so for me looking at it, I'm like, it's tough to build over the wintertime, however you're choosing to do it, and then shoot your shot at the end of May and miss by that much.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, shoot, what have I been doing? And, I think that you've still been training effectively for half marathon and for half Ironman and what you're trying to do. I just think throwing in a full marathon probably wasn't the right decision.
Yeah, that's definitely, in hindsight, either don't do the full marathon, do the half and try to PR the half, or do the full and really adjust your expectations.
But I still think I don't see the point of doing the full marathon. Like there's a reason why you don't see half marathoners or half Ironman athletes like jumping into marathon distance races. It's just because it doesn't make any sense.
I know. I think the reason I did the marathon was because in Calgary, it's a smaller elite field, which means I qualify for elite.
Oh yeah.
So I get my own water bottles, which for me makes a big difference with my hydration plan. So I didn't want to like miss out on the opportunity to have that as an option.
Wait, do the half marathoners not get the water stations?
But I don't really need those for the half. I don't take in as much, whereas a marathon, it's much more important. So I just was like, well, if I have a marathon opportunity to get my own water bottles, why not take it?
Yeah.
Which, and my coach, I mean, he said, I thought you could do it with lower volume, but, you couldn't. And that's fine. Like and it's true. It is fine. It's just a race. Like, I didn't like the experience of it, but you learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
And I went into it knowing that it wasn't confirmed. I wish I had adjusted my expectations, because you know what happens when your expectations exceed reality. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
But I can check that pretty quickly. And it was a hotter day. And I don't think the heat played a huge role, but may have made part of a difference. And I don't know. It was definitely disappointing. And then the worst part, and this is going to feel, on our bibs, it says our names. So it's like Alex, like 1. That was my number. So everyone on, and it's a pretty busy area. Like you run through downtown. So there are a lot of people cheering, which is great, unless you're having a really bad day. And you're running through and everyone's like, go Alex, you're looking so strong. But you're not, you're having the worst day ever. So in the back of your mind, you're just like, shut up.
Yeah, you just want to like rip your name off your bib.
Yeah.
You get a piece of tape.
I just want to just disappear into the bushes.
Yeah. Like the fact that I haven't done that yet is miraculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's still, to hang in there and finish the race, I think is remarkable.
Yeah.
So good job. It's hard to do.
I'm always proud of those races because there's like running sub 3 for me. Those races aren't hard.
Yeah.
I don't actually have to dig that deep because I'm so prepared for it. You're emptying the tank and you want it to be over when you finish. But when you run and you get to the point where you're not at the end, but you've emptied the tank, that's when you actually have to dig deep and push. And so that race, that 10K I did last summer where I didn't achieve my sub 40, and then the LA Marathon, those are all the races where I'm like, yeah, you dug deep.
Yeah.
You finished. And I think when you get to a certain level, there's a lot of people who end up just DNFing.
Yeah.
And I just don't think I'll ever be that person. Even though the last 10 to 15K can feel really bad.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're not hurt, I think if you can continue.
Yeah.
And like there's a lesson in there. And I think that is what you came away with. And yeah, your next one will be better, whatever the distance is. But I think a lot of, LA was a couple of years ago. I think a lot of people have forgotten about LA. And you're very methodical with your training and tend to improve kind of linearly in your running. So I think a lot of people were just kind of like, oh, she bleeds.
Yeah.
She's human.
I think it's hard too because, you can follow a training program to a T. You can have a coach that, is experienced. No one can promise anything because you're human and there's so many factors to consider. I mean, even when I was running or walking, I was like, is it because work has been so busy? Like, did I not, give this the respect that it needed? And it's like, no, I optimized every training session to the best that I could.
Yeah.
And I did all my runs and I made choices. I've made the choice to improve in biking and being able to ride Dusty this weekend to the ability and the effort that I did. Like that wouldn't have been possible if I put all my eggs into the marathon. Yeah.
I mean, if you had been capable of running, in hindsight, if you'd been capable of running a 255, 256, like you probably wouldn't have been riding Dusty so well.
No.
And so it's like those two things, while like seemingly very unrelated, are actually very related.
Yeah. And so I think for a minute, it made me really put into focus like what my goals are. I don't even know what they are still.
Yeah.
But I'm learning you can't have it all.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew that. I've always known that as a person. I was telling you on the drive yesterday, sometimes I look at my athletic career and I've always been pretty good at what I do, but I've never, ever gone all in.
Yeah.
For 1 year I did with skiing and for 1 year I did with CrossFit. And I didn't enjoy that experience.
Yep.
I don't like when I've got a singular focus. I've always enjoyed having to balance academics or athletics or different athletics, switching from sport to sport in summer and winter. And I just don't necessarily think I'll ever be that one that wants to focus on just one thing.
Yeah.
So with that, you have to adjust your expectations in all the things that you do.
It is hard though, when you're like, okay, I'm going to adjust my expectations. It's fine. I know I do a lot of things. I know, like, I wouldn't even necessarily call it balance. It's just like, I know I want to do a lot of things, but it's hard when you see people who are like, just that notch up from where you are with running or with biking. And you're like, when you identify as that person, You're like, I just want to be that good. But then you start going through the mental exercise of what would it take and what would I have to change in my life in order for that to happen, or to like make it more likely to happen. It's like, I don't think I'm ready to do that, so you just don't. And who knows? I mean, you've been running consistently since 2021. So that's 4 years. That's both a long and very short time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same for me with biking. So it's almost like I'm curious to see where like this level of commitment goes in a couple more years, like for both of us in what we do.
Yeah, like maybe in 3 years with the same balance, maybe a little bit more running volume, I can achieve a 255 and also still have a great race at Dusty.
Yeah.
And not feel like I'm just surviving 80 miles.
Yeah.
It's like, especially gravel biking is very new, or any biking for me that's different, that's not mountain biking. So yeah, you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, it's admirable. And I'm not saying, and I don't think you're saying there's anything wrong with going all in on a sport. It's just like when you've kind of like, you've gone, I'm going to put a lot of eggs in this basket, but not all the eggs, but like, it still feels like a lot of eggs. But then you look at someone who has all their eggs in that basket. You're like, you're telling me that 3 more eggs in this basket makes that big of a difference? But the answer is yes.
Yeah. And that's part of it. It's the fact that there's still a lot of eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to go down that path of, that's not fair, or this, feel like I should.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I should still be able to run sub 3. I didn't say that. In my mind, I kind of start going there in the race because you're really down in the dumps. But you can't. Like you're not entitled to that.
Yeah.
I feel like I still should be sub 3. Like maybe for a minute I thought that, but the fact of the matter is I'm not.
Yeah.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles. Like, it's like my coach said, like, I thought you could do it, but you didn't.
Yeah.
And it could have been the day, but I just think it was just underpreparedness for what I was trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And I didn't know better. And that's fine. Like, that's sports. But I think the element of balance, like I like my balance. I like, even, shitting the bed in LA or here in Calgary, and I don't want to say I have a fear of failure, but I never enjoyed when I was growing up, the couple of years where I had all my eggs in one basket, the pressure. And at least I can run this marathon and it not go my way and be like, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not doing it. It's not everything.
When you can look forward to the next one without feeling like I have to do better on this next one.
Yeah.
Like it allows the thing that you do for fun to some degree to remain fun. And that's the same way I feel about biking. It's like, what I want more than anything, like I want to improve in it. I want to get faster. I want to like be racing, like actually racing, but I want it to be fun. Mm-hmm. And I don't want it to be something that I start like resenting or not looking forward to, which is like honestly how I started to feel about CrossFit at the end. Was it just like there was so much pressure put on it and on me to just be better or just be the same. Like whatever you do, just don't get worse. Mm-hmm. Right. Like after you've peaked and you've gone to the games, you can't like, so here's the deal. You can't not qualify next year.
Right.
Like that's just this weird expectation. But it makes you start to hate it. Especially when it's so time consuming and it's so draining. So yeah, the things that I choose to do now recreationally, like I'm doing, and you're the same, to have fun, to get better, to learn about yourself. And it needs to be that. And when it stops being that, I imagine we'll probably shift to something else or pull back in a way.
Yeah. And some people thrive in that. Like some people they have tunnel vision.
Yeah.
I grew up with girls like that who were just tunnel vision. They wanted to make it to the Olympics.
But then you do, and it takes, what do you do after that? Like if it's something like skiing or biking, like presumably you want to continue to do that for the rest of your life, but it makes doing it and enjoying not being elite at it really hard. Like you have to find a different purpose with it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that can be the real trick, especially with something like biking, where maybe your brain's calibrated to being one of the best in the field, and all of a sudden you're out there riding middle of the pack and you're like, I don't know how to like mentally handle this, because like this is where I'm at, like this is where my capability is, but my identity is way up front.
Well, I have that experience with golf, which is why I don't play it. People will be like, you want to go out for a round? And I'm like, no, I don't play golf for fun.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I can, because I used to be like a 2 handicap. So, and it's not so much of the ego of being like, okay, well now I shoot 100 and not 75. It's the enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
And it is part of your identity. I'm like, I am the person that hits the ball straight, gets on the green in 2 and 2 putts for par. So when I'm over in the woods every single shot, that's not fun for me. That's not how I like to play the game. And I think that is true for a lot of sports.
Yeah.
In different ways.
I think with golf, you hear it all the time. You're like, oh, so-and-so is a 2 handicap. And it's like, that's literally like, you're talking about somebody's identity right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-and-so is a sub-3 marathoner. And that's like, that gets really heavy. And
Or I think even anything like, oh, they're a pro. They're elite.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you're not. But you still want to be in the sport. And then you just kind of slowly get forgotten. And that's hard.
Yeah. I mean, we could just do a whole nother podcast on this topic because it's huge. There's that documentary. I think it's called The Weight of Gold. It's Norwegian, I think. But it is a kind of a deep dive into the psychology of Olympic athletes who like are moving into retirement, and how it's really difficult to handle that psychologically and mentally, because you're like being not even doing a sport or an activity, being elite at that is the identity. I don't know how to be anything else. But
like if someone were to say, oh, Meredith, do you want to go do this CrossFit competition? Knowing you could probably do okay, it wouldn't really be fun.
No.
I think there are some people who can do it. I mean, I was just talking to my grandpa about it. Who's like 90.
Your grandpa did a CrossFit competition?
Not CrossFit, this situation. He used to be a scratch golfer.
Yeah.
And he was saying to me, he's like, I don't like golfing anymore. I don't have fun because I can't even hit the ball at all.
Yeah.
It takes me 4 shots just to get to the green with my driver.
And I bet like people say, well, Walter, you should just be happy to be out there playing golf.
Right. You're 92. What can you expect?
But he's like, you don't understand. And it's kind of like when people say like, you know, you post your marathon and people are like, but 3:07 is a great time. Like you should be proud of that. You should be happy. And it's like, you don't get it. Like you're missing the point.
It's not about being good. It's not about that. It's not necessarily even about the ego.
Yeah.
I'm sure that plays a part for some people and to a degree for me. It's how you want to experience something.
Right.
And how you experience something sometimes is based on how you've experienced it in the past.
Right. And if it then brings into question, is it okay to not enjoy something when you're not as good at it? And I think, yep, that's totally fine. Like that's okay. You don't need to that doesn't need to become a lesson. You don't need to relearn how to love golf if you just don't have it in you at 92 years old to relearn how to love golf. Like that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no right or wrong there. But I think, for a lot of people who retire from their sport at a very young age, maybe it's worth exploring, finding a new way to enjoy it. That's all.
It's almost like this is parallel to other things in life, even something like your body composition. If you think about bodybuilders who get, and I know it's mental in a different way, but bodybuilders who get super, super lean, and then they go back to what is a regular walking around body fat percentage that's healthy and that you can maintain for a longer period of time, and they just can't.
Yeah.
Because they've seen themselves that lean, even though it's unhealthy and they had to give everything up to get there. Mm-hmm. Their brains are calibrated to this other thing that for some reason brought them joy because of societal expectations or whatever. And
you have a bunch of pictures taken on stage and it's like, oh, by the way, you felt awful that day. But that's not like your brain just like, that's how I can look. I want to look that way all the time. And if I don't look that way, then I'm unhappy.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about balance. Like when you talk about, oh, if I just put 3 more eggs in this basket, I could be that good. Well, if you just put 3 more eggs in that basket, you could be this much leaner and you'd be happier. But like, what's the trade-off?
You don't even get to have an omelet.
3 eggs. Exactly. It doesn't seem like much, but it is.
Yeah.
And it, especially over a long sustained period of time,
Mm-hmm.
it can be the difference of, I don't know, finding a partner, like being able to have an animal, making more money.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be the same thing as like, okay, I'm going to go all in on my job. Well, how does that impact the rest of your life?
Yeah.
You know, you start working on the weekends, like that's going to impact relationships.
And that's all fine. As long as you're going into it with like eyes wide open, understanding what the cost is and making sure that it's very worth it.
I think what a lot of people want, and sometimes I fall into this trap, is wanting to put 3 more eggs in every basket and being like, wait, I'm out of eggs. I need more eggs.
I need somebody give me more eggs. Chop, chop. I need a dozen more.
Yeah, at least.
But I think that's probably the good takeaway and the good lesson from Calgary and Dusty. Like that, there's 2 sides to that coin. And I think Calgary was the kind of the dark side to the coin, but Dusty was a bright side.
Yeah.
And I think that's also really cool that you got both of those experiences in kind of close succession, because I think they need one another. And I hope it's like, okay, we're okay. This experience, this positive experience, is a result of the same thing that the negative experience was a result of. It's the same.
And nothing's final. I don't have to stay in this balance. You can shift the balance whenever you want, for a short period of time, for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that. So that's kind of a question for the future. I'm going to see how the summer shakes out and then reassess my goals and what I want training, more specifically training, to look like.
Yeah. Before you go into winter training phase.
Yeah. But
the dark winter.
Where I'm kind of like, the bike isn't so bad. I'd rather bike inside than run on a treadmill.
Yeah, it's different. It's like better for some reason. But I'm super proud of you.
Thanks.
In both races. I think you're just an amazing athlete.
Oh, shucks.
Stop it. Even on your worst day, I think hanging in there is something a lot of people wouldn't do. So.
Yeah. It was like, I just need to say it. I was just like, I want to go. I want to quit. I can't do this. But as soon as you say it, which I did to my dad, when I saw him on the way back, it's not actually an option, but you want to know it's there and that you're not choosing it. Yeah. That's like empowered.
You
feel like,
nah. I see that side of the road. I see that fork.
Yeah.
I'm still not taking it.
Like I'm going past my dad saying, I just want to go home, but I'm still moving in the direction of the finish line.
Yeah.
So
I haven't abandoned the course. Also, hilarious side note, we were in the elite briefing for the Calgary Marathon, and there was a couple of people who I recognized from last year. And I guess the elite guys, I don't know if they were marathoners or half marathoners, but they were running together, and the one guy, I guess, just decided to run home for some reason. And so the other guy followed him. And so they were kind of joking like, oh, maybe you won't run to your house this year and I won't accidentally follow you off the course.
He was like, that was really bad. Because he wasn't following the course. He was just following the guy in front of him, which you can't blame him for.
Right. I would have been ticked. I bet he was.
Oh,
he looked fast.
Sure. He was fast.
Yeah. So anyways,
at least the guy could have been like, dude, I'm running home. Don't follow me.
Yeah.
You know? But misery loves company.
Yeah. So maybe he was like, I'd like a buddy.
Yeah.
To make sure my blood sugar is feeling low. But yeah, anyways, that's it. Next up, Fernie Gravel Grind from a racing standpoint. That won't be until July 4th, 5th.
Yeah.
So we got some time to recover. Just a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. Any final thoughts?
All I want to say is after doing 80 miles yesterday, I still can't believe you did 200.
Oh,
unbelievable.
Yeah. I had a few people say that. But
yeah.
It's amazing what humans can do.
And what a $500 saddle can help with.
Yeah. That thing. Holy moly. I need a specialized saddle sponsor, because it's like, I read a bunch of reviews on these 3D printed saddles, and I was like, I don't know. You know how some people can be, especially dudes, when they talk about things that they spend money on. But a few of them are like, look, like if you get one of these, just be prepared to like hate every other saddle that you own, and can confirm they're miraculous. So if you have it, and if you have a sensitive tush or you're going for a 200-mile bike ride and you have it in your budget to get a 3D printed saddle, I have the specialized Phenom Mirror S-Works. Amazing. Worth it. It's an investment. They're going to last a long time.
I have a cool brown saddle that matches my bike, but isn't the most comfortable.
No.
But I get by.
You do. That's it. I just want to say one more thing, and it's
Thank you. Goodbye.
See you in the next one. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe.